Hello, friends. Good morning again, and welcome to the fourth video session on unit number 6, that is multimedia data compression. This is under subject multimedia communication technique for final year electronics and telecommunication engineering, PH, Solapur University, Solapur. Now, let us have quick recap. So, out of the contents of the syllabus, which are all about the different types of data compression used under multimedia. So the contents here are the lossless compression algorithm introduction, in which three kinds of algorithm we'll study: run length coding, variable length coding, and arithmetic coding. Followed by that, there will be lossless image compression. So now we have entered into a specific domain for data, that is image compression. Then followed by that, few lossy compression algorithms. So it is just the introduction to the lossy compression algorithms. And lastly, we'll see the basic video compression techniques. In that, we'll see H.261 and H.263. Now, out of the previous three video session that we have seen, in that we have covered the lossless compression algorithms, what exactly it is, what are the compression ratios, why to go for lossless, in which specific applications we go for lossless compression algorithms. Then some of the coding techniques we have seen for that is run length coding. Again, we have seen variable length coding. In that, two types were there. So those two types, including the Huffman coding and Shannon-Fano coding, we have seen. And then in till the last video session, we have covered about up to the arithmetic coding. So as I recall, I guess we have covered 4 video sessions. This is the 5th one, because there were some interruptions with the arithmetic coding last time when we were recording, or we were conducting the video sessions. Now let us take forward from the arithmetic coding and go ahead with the lossless image compression. So this part we have already covered. Seen in arithmetic coding, we have seen the algorithm and an example how to take over with that. Now let us go ahead with the lossless image compression. Now, as the title indicates, the compression ratios won't be very high. Whenever very important kind of information through images need to be percolated, like example in last video session I have given about the images specifically in the medical history or medical field, where certain scans been carried out for the patient, several MRI scans or CT scans or any other kinds of scans which contain very bulk and very important amount of information. So for such images, when we store on the system, when we transfer, we don't generally go for the lossy image compression. Even though the data contained is high, even though the information or the size of that image is high, we don't normally go for applying the lossy compression, where once you reproduce the image again, it will differ with that of the original image or original data, because that is what happened in lossy. Once you reproduce the original, once you reproduce the, or once you try to retrieve the data which is there in the lossy image, that will differ than that of the lossless image. So we don't normally go for that. So lossless image compression is specifically used for areas which demand like very high and precious amount of information which contain in the image. So one of the most commonly used compression technique in multimedia data compression is the differential coding. Now if you recall, in I guess in chapter number 4 we have, or chapter number 5, during the introductory part, we have seen the different audio compression techniques. In that, the PCM, ADPCM techniques we have used, in which are very much popular, known as the differential coding. So in image compression also, whenever we go for the lossless image compression, the differential coding is the one which is preferred more, or which is most commonly used. So one of the most commonly used compression technique in multimedia data compression is the differential coding. The basis of data reduction in differential coding is the redundancy in consecutive symbols in the data stream. So obviously whenever certain repetitive pattern occurs, so there we can easily apply the compression. So recall that we have considered the lossless differential coding in when we examine how audio must be dealt with via subtraction from the predicted values. So audio is a signal indexed by one dimensional time. Here we have to consider how to apply the lessons learned from audio to the context of digital image signal that are indexed by two spatial dimensions. So now what has been stated here is, whenever we go for applying the differential compression in case of the audio signal, though generally audio signal, if you sketch, it is the signal, the varying information with respect to time. So generally that signal is a single dimensional signal only. So whatever the values are there, the alternating values of the signal with respect to time, that only we focus on in case of audio signal. So whatever the information that we get there in case of audio information, it is normally a single dimensional value only. So there, the applying the differential transform is quite easier, because we need to work in finding out the differential positions of the values within that dimension only, or within one dimension only. But now here the things are a little bit complicated when we deal with the image, because we have to go ahead here with the two-dimensional values. Here whenever we represent image, we represent it by certain pixels, by a certain amount of pixels. So the dimension here, if we denote in the spatial dimensions, we indicate them, or we know them by x comma y. So this is how a bit different kind of mechanism we need to apply in case of the image compression as compared to the audio compression in case of the differential coding of images. So let us consider the differential coding in the context of digital image, in the sense we move from signals with domain in one dimension to the signal indexed by numbers in dimensions, that is x comma y, the rows and the columns of the images. Later we will look at a video signal. These are even more complex in that we need to index by space as well as time. So what has been told here, the same thing, that whenever we deal with audio signal, we need to deal or think about only one dimension, that with respect to the time, the amplitude value of the signal only varies. But when we represent an image, it will be rows by column. So whatever the information of that particular pixel, so it will have two dimensions values, that is value for the row and then for the column. While if we look for the video section, like, which is again complex one, because along with the x and y, that is the column as well as the rows, there will be another dimension added to it, that is nothing but time. Because there, the when image is there, we assume that for that particular image, for all the instances, the value will remain same. But when we talk about video, it is series of images, so images keep on flipping all the time. So we need to think about time as in third dimension when we talk about video. So differential coding, when we apply in case of video, it will be again a bit more complicated or a bit more complex in case of applying the differential coding scheme is concerned. So because of the continuity of the physical world, the gray level intensities or even for color also it will be almost same. So the gray level intensities of backgrounds and foreground objects in image tends to change relatively slow across the image frame, since we were dealing with signal in the time domain. For audio practitioners generally refer to image as a signal in the spatial domain. So here even in case of images, the changes won't be too high and too quickly varying. So when we say image, then there will be a background, there will be a foreground, and it won't happen that it is going to change very drastically or very quickly. More and so the background generally for the certain level of images, it hardly changes. So not much of the background foreground changes will observe in the images. The generally slowly changing nature of imaginary spatially produces a high likelihood that neighboring pixel will have similar intensity values given on original image intensity, say x and y. Using the simple differential operator, we can define a difference image d in bracket x and y as follows. So what exactly we do here is we assume that when we deal with a different amount of pixels for one particular image, that there won't be much differences occur in the neighboring pixels. So mostly the intensity of the nearby images or consecutive nearby pixels or consecutive pixels will remain almost same. So instead of working on their actual value, let us work on their differences, so that we can go ahead with dealing with the, or we can go ahead with the applying the compression here. Because instead of instead of coding the values for the intensities of that vary pixel or the same pixel, if we go for, or let us say there are two consecutive pixels, so instead of transmitting the intensity, or instead of coding the intensity values of two individual pixels, if we go ahead with finding the difference between the intensities, which we are considering won't be too high, because the pixels are very nearby located to each other, and there is hardly the difference occur. If we talk about the average difference occur in an image, so there will be hardly a difference observed in the intensity values. So there we have a good scope to save sufficient amount of data, or that kind of coding we can go ahead with the differential coding of images. And there is a certain example is taken here, and in this you can easily see this is the histogram taken, and this is the histogram taken after the differential compression applied. So here let us go ahead with the details of these figures. So distribution of original versus the derivative images A and B. Original gray level image is an partial derivative image, so B is an partial derivative image here, and A is a original image, and C and D are the histograms of all both the images. Now here you can see, so the histogram values is spread across the entire region, which states that where we have gone for highlighting the intensity values of every individual pixel. While here what has been shown is as we are going for the differential values, so we will be capturing the differences between the pixels, nearby pixel, adjacent pixels. So this kind of histogram that we have observed. So with this we can conclude ki if we go ahead with the differential compression, we could have save a sufficient amount of data, as we won't be working on intensity levels of individual, but we will be working on intensity levels of their differential values. So this is a simple approximation of partial differential operator. So it's dabba by dabba x applied to an image defined in terms of integer values of x and y. And another approach is to use the discrete version of the 2D Laplacian operator to define the difference image dabba of dx comma y, which is defined as with the help of the formula, and this is the histogram example of it. So this is all about the differential coding. The takeout from the differential coding for images is only thing that need to be remember is we don't go for coding of the intensity value of every individual pixel. Rather we go ahead with the coding for their differential values, by which we can have huge amount of data saved, or the bit length saved for coding. Now let us go ahead with the another example for lossless image compression, that is lossless JPEG. Now mostly JPEG is preferably used under the lossy compression, but in order to give it a complete go, JPEG is available in all the fields or all the formats. In order to complete that particular loop, we have this example of lossless JPEG, where the compression levels will be very low as compared to JPEG, the JPEGs which are known for. Like JPEG is the known name for the compression under the lossy compression, where huge amount of compression levels can be achieved. While here, this lossless JPEG is hardly it can have the better compression techniques. So compression levels rather. So lossless JPEG is a special case of JPEG image compression. It differs drastically from other JPEG modes in that the algorithm has no lossy step. So as I told, JPEG is mostly preferred for having the lossy algorithm, lossy steps. Thus we treat it here and consider the more used lossy JPEG method. So this is just to understand that there is one more option available under JPEG scheme, that it has also have an lossless uh, technique available with it. Well, but most of the times whenever we say the word JPEG, it generally comes under the lossy compression only. So lossless JPEG is evoked when the user selects 100% quality factor in an image tool. So whenever the image quality or the data under the belt of that particular image is very very important, then and then this lossless JPEG has been preferred. Essentially, lossless JPEG is included in the JPEG compression standard simply for completeness. So that is what I was talking about, because JPEG is mostly for lossy. So just in order to complete the entire package of JPEG, that JPEG is also there in lossless. So this technique, or rather this compression method, has been used here or suggested here. The following predictive method is applied on the unprocessed original image or each color band of the original image. It essentially involves two steps forming a differential prediction and encoding. So how this JPEG basically work? So it work on the method called as predictive method, where what we do is we try to predict uh, the the pixel intensity levels, the pixel values, based on whatever the pixels values that are already available with us. So based on the available data of the image, which is the confirmed data, we try to predict the output of the neighboring pixels of that particular image pattern. So this is how a JPEG work, where we have these pixels A, B, C and X available here. So there will be different amount of predictors available, P1, P2 to up to P7. So it depends upon which predictor to go ahead with. So what has been done here is the neighboring pixel of neighboring pixels for the predictors in lossless JPEG, where it is to be noted that A, B or C has already been decoded before it is used in the predictor. So before we could go ahead with the prediction of the another pixels, we got to ensure that the values which are there available, though those already been decoded. That means before we go ahead predicting the value of X, we need to know that, or we have to have the exact values of pixel A, B and C, so that we can go ahead with the prediction of the other values. So this is how the lossless JPEG compression works. Now the next are the lossy compression algorithms. So here we will be going ahead with different features of this lossy compression algorithms. So only the introductory part, like how it works, for what it is work, so all that we will be going ahead with in lossy compression algorithm. Then we will be covering the last part, which is the lossy compression algorithms for the video. So this two entire lossy compressions for image as well as the lossy compression for video we'll cover in the next session. So till that, thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe.